Hey, thanks for joining us here. My name is Karl LeClair. I'm the Public Arts Supervisor for the City of Hillsborough. Work in the Cultural Arts Division of Parks and Recreation out of the Walters Cultural Arts Center. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Shute Park Public Art Call for Artists. This is an RFQ, a request for qualifications round. And so during the session here, we're going to run through some project background, talk a little bit more about expectations for the project, discuss the finalist phase, and then walk through the application form to talk about what's required in terms of submitting materials. At the end, we'll have cover a couple of questions and dig in a little bit more into what we're looking for as a final outcome for the project. So to begin, I'm going to pull up and share my screen and take us to where you can access the application and use the actual content of the application to work through all of the information. So bear with me here. I'm going to take us to the artist opportunities page here. So this is a great general resource if you're an artist in the area or looking to be involved in the projects that we offer. If you simply search Artist Opportunities City of Hillsborough, it should take you directly to this page. If you go to the City of Hillsborough website, you can navigate to Parks and Recreation, and then in the little drop-down boxes here on the left-hand side, Arts is a little ways down, but Artist Opportunities will pop up right there. Again, it's a great resource if you're looking for other opportunities. We have a few others open right now, not just for visual artists, but teaching artists and working on public art committees. So take a look. But right now we're going to focus on this really exciting project for Shute Park. And you'll see here as you click the button that expands the opportunity, we have the project description listed in both English and Spanish. Going to focus on the English version for tonight, but the same resources are available here in Spanish if you need that. So high level here on the website, we try to list the sort of critical information for you to determine whether or not this is a good project for you to learn more about and consider applying for. I'm going to highlight the application deadline a few times tonight to make sure that everyone's aware of that. August 30th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So a little over a month from right now. We have a $220,000 project budget. So that's actually the contract budget for the project. And as we talk through a little bit more details on the finalist round, you'll see we have some additional budget to help support that phase of the project. Eligibility, in working with our community-based committee, we decided to keep this opportunity open to Oregon and Southwest Washington-based artists. If you are a Southwest Washington-based artist and have questions about whether you are eligible or not, please reach out to us and we can chat about that. We generally want to include the Portland metro region, so kind of use that as a general guideline. And then we have a brief description here, which I'm going to jump into as we open the call to artists. So you'll see we have two links here at the bottom. We have one that is a link to the full call to artists with a fillable PDF. And then we also have an online application form. It's best to read through the actual call to artists that contains all of the project information. And then you can link out to the Cognito form, which is a little bit easier to complete and submit. So we'll jump right into the application form, the full call to artist form here. Again, that same sort of critical information is listed right at the top, including my contact information. So please don't hesitate to reach out directly to me if you have any questions about the application or the project or whether or not you're a right fit to apply. Happy to make some time to chat with you about that. So getting into the project description, I'm not going to read this verbatim. Hopefully you can do that as you have the time, but we're looking for either an artist or an artist team to create a new artwork for Shute Park. Shute Park is the city's oldest park. It's located in, the downtown area on the south end of 10th Ave. And it's at the sort of center of a complex of city-owned facilities, including the Shute Library, the Hillsborough Community Senior Center, and the Shark, the Shute Park Aquatic and Recreation Center. And as a sort of hub of all of those facilities, it's a super active site within the city, not just for sort of passive park use, but also it's programmed through the city, through cultural events, but also through community organizations and local nonprofits. So especially during the summer, there's a rotating series of cultural events there. Maybe it's concert series that's happening, various cultural celebrations. There's also large picnic areas that can be rented out by community members for small and large gatherings. There's areas to play, there's areas to rest and relax. And of course, it's pretty well known for the towering fir trees that sort of surround and are integrated throughout the park. So beautiful sort of natural environment as well, right in the downtown area. And this project has been sort of the focus of the public art program since 2017. There was a sculptural piece that had to be removed in deaccession back in 2017. And since that time, we've committed to working with the community to develop a new project there, not to necessarily replace that piece, but to reinvest back in this park space. And so we'll get into a little bit more detail later on about the community engagement effort that we've been working through over the past few years, and what that means for the project. But sort of the high points of that effort have led us to seeking a project that's interactive and engaging in some way for all members of the community. So we heard that we really want to focus on a project that will bring people of all ages, backgrounds, abilities together in Shute Park. We know that there's a broad diversity of people gathering in the park already, and we hope that this project will help to sort of bring people together, unify them around sort of a common activity or a common theme, and help to sort of elevate and celebrate Hillsborough's identity. Hillsborough is one of the most diverse cities in Oregon. And so, we hope that the project will help to sort of celebrate that aspect, as well as celebrate the natural environment of the park. So we heard that we don't want to compete with sort of the tranquil environment in the park. And so the process that we'll be running for this, we're going to run a finalist process. So we're looking to, from this application phase, qualify up to 3 artists or artist teams that we can invite to be finalists on the project. We have a $1,500 design stipend, as well as some additional funds to help compensate for travel for a site visit and a presentation to the community about your practice in the public realm. That can also be an opportunity to collect some additional information from the community before you begin the design phase. And during that site visit, we'll also share all the information that we've collected through the community engagement effort. And so then the designs that are created will be, again, shared with the community to collect further input. And then the committee that we're working with will review the community's feedback, the design concepts, and make a recommendation to the Hillsborough Arts and Culture Council for a final approval. So kind of quick project brief there. We've included a general timeline for the project. A couple key dates here. We're at the application workshop here on July 26th. Question deadline is August 21st. We've set that deadline a little bit of advance of the application deadline to ensure that we can post responses to questions or make sure that everyone has access to all the same information as they're applying. The application deadline, again, August 30th, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We anticipate then convening our committee in September to review all the applications and select finalists. We'll then invite the finalists to visit Hillsborough, the project site, provide the community presentation sometime in October, November, depending on the schedules of the finalists. And then we'll have a design concept deadline in January. So that'll provide at least 6 weeks of design time. We'll then open up those designs to collect additional community feedback. And then we're anticipating about a final approval March 2024. And then from there, there's just over a year to complete the project. So we are looking at a completion of summer 2025, but really we need the project to be completed by May of 2025 before that sort of cultural event season kicks off, so that we don't have to negatively impact any of those activities in the park during summer. And then probably later that summer, we'll plan a dedication event for the project to celebrate it. We're here at the application workshop. If you found your way, congratulations. If you're viewing it later, hopefully this is helpful to you. Then we have some location details. So I just described kind of earlier the location of Shute Park being in downtown at the center of the suite of city facilities, super active place. We spent quite a bit of time in our community engagement efforts doing park observations, different days of the week, different times of day, different times of the year, to really understand how people are using the space. And this helped to inform how we decided to request a location to use from the Parks Commission. And we don't want to impact or impede the existing activities that our community loves in Shute Park. So we really wanted to be mindful of where we're placing this new project, so that it's both accessible, but also is successful within the fabric of all the other activities that are happening in the park. And so we'll kind of, we'll get down. So there's essentially a planter bed right in the center of the park. And it's set within an existing network of pathways that circulate both around the park and then connect out to the various city facilities. So on the map here, you can see the Community Senior Center. It's just out to the northwest of the site. The site here is indicated by the red pin. The Shute Library just to the northeast, and the Shute Park Aquatic and Recreation Center across Maple to the northeast, with the majority of the open space in the park being to the south, pathway connecting to the bandstand where events happen. So we're really mindful not to impact the footprint of the events that happen here. Concert series, cultural events, sort of vendor markets happen, and the picnic areas and other rest areas are kind of scattered throughout the shaded areas amongst the trees here around the periphery of the park. And then the playground is directly adjacent to the site. And so we felt that this was a nice, again, sort of reinforcing that idea of play. The play area is mostly intended for children, but of course there are a lot of parents that gather around the space with their children. And so having some sort of activity center here in this existing planter bed would help sort of emphasize that sense of play here. To get to the actual planter bed itself, so this is a view of the planter bed. This is looking at the planter bed, looking west. So you can see the towering fir trees here. And in the foreground here, you'll see the walkways. So there's at minimum, the walkways are 8 feet wide surrounding this entire planter bed. So it's already ADA accessible to the planter bed, and we hope that the artwork will accommodate everyone of all abilities. And so connecting into or integrating into the existing pathways will be sort of a key feature of the project. We've elected to leave the planter bed as is. It has a It has a brick retaining wall surrounding it, which the dimensions I'll have to check here. So it's 22 inches high by 7.5 inches wide. And the planter bed is filled currently with some plantings that our parks maintenance team is happy to relocate. But we left it as is because there's sort of fill and soil in there that could be repurposed. The brick retaining wall could be repurposed or left in some existing configuration. If we do want to displace some of those plantings, like I said, our parks maintenance team will help sort of relocate those. In addition to that, there's a historic interpretive sign here that shares a little bit of the history of Shute Park. We're actually going to remove that sign and create a new historic interpretive space on the east side of the park. So that will be accommodated for. But I think the real challenge here, it's a circular planter bed. So it kind of already has that sort of built in the round experience and the ability for community members to circulate all around the space, and good visibility sort of into it from various areas in the park, as well as good visibility out into most of the areas of the park. There is sort of standard park lighting, as you can see in the background here, around the site, and we hope that there is some lighting for safety in the park, but lighting doesn't have to necessarily be an integral component of the final project. So that's the site. We'll talk a little bit more about the background here and get into the community engagement process. So Shute Park, I mentioned, it's the oldest park in Hillsborough, purchased by the city of Hillsborough in 1906, and then was improved in 1920. And over the years, Shute Park has really changed in nature. It once featured large baseball fields, a dance hall, a skating rink, hosted the Washington County Fair, which is now over by the Hillsborough Airport, and has seen a number of different sort of improvements over time to arrive at its current state right now. So there's a lot of sort of community memory wrapped up in the park. So different generations have different touch points within the park that are important to them. And we selected this planter bed because it kind of doesn't necessarily carry that weight or that history with it. The brick is part of an older renovation effort within the park, and so there are some that are attached to the brick, but it doesn't mean that it has to stay. And as well, the planter bed is kind of an underutilized and sort of inactive space right now, one of very few within the entire footprint of the park. And so we feel that it's appropriate to activate it through this project. We talked about the cultural events that happen throughout the year, and then to get into the community survey. So 2018, the public art program ran a year-long intensive community engagement effort using a variety of different methods of listening to the community, focus groups. We had tabling at events that happened both in downtown, throughout the city, in the park itself. We had a survey that was offered online as well as in person at those events. And we collected information about different types of projects. So we had sort of contemporary sculptural projects, interactive projects, functional, and interactive really kind of quickly grew to the top of the desires of the community. And then COVID happened, and we sort of sat on all that information that we collected in 2018. Once we came out of COVID, we still wanted to pursue the project, but felt that we had to sort of re-engage with the community to understand if the information collected in 2018 was still relevant, or if it needed to be updated to reflect, changes that had happened through COVID. So we took the top sort of scoring categories of project types and reintroduce those to the community. And along with collecting some other additional information that helped us understand how the park was being used. So we tried to understand how frequently the community used the park, what types of activities they engaged in, and other information that helped us to sort of narrow down into the parameters that we presented here. And we have all of this information available. So when we bring the finalists for the site visit, and before design starts, we will turn over all of that data to help inform the design process. So there's some really great information in there that digs into how we've arrived at an engaging, interactive artwork that celebrates Hillsborough's diversity and the natural environment in the park. We've included this desired outcome section, and this sort of gives a little window into the type of artist or team that we're looking to work with, and sort of the expectations for the project. So we're really looking for an artist or team that has worked and developed interactive projects before, and has some demonstrated experience in working in a larger project of this nature. The artist or team will be expected to provide us with engineer drawings to work with us to secure any permits necessary, likely need a building permit through the city's community development and public works departments. And then the artist will be responsible for project managing the design development, the engineering, fabrication, delivery, and installation on site. Of course, we'll be here to help facilitate that entire process, working through design development, working through engineering and securing permits, and then coordinating with our parks maintenance team on that construction timeline. The selection committee that we're working with, it's a pretty robust panel of community members who all have sort of ties to the project site. And so we have a member of the Hillsborough Arts and Culture Council. This is a mayor-appointed advisory committee for the work that we conduct in the cultural arts division of Parks and Rec. And they will have a final approval on the design of the project. We have a couple of general community members who are related to the city facilities. We have a board member from Shute Library. We have a volunteer from the Hillsborough Community Senior Center. And then we have some representatives from a working group for Kai Ideas for 10th Ave. The city's been engaging in looking at investing in the 10th Ave area of Hillsborough. And so we have a few stakeholders from that group as well. So they'll be in charge of reviewing the applications received at this phase, likely meeting with and discussing their expectations for the project with the finalists, and then reviewing community feedback and final designs to make a recommendation to the Hillsborough Arts and Culture Council. As staff, we're here to just facilitate that process. And so I don't have a vote as part of the committee. I'm really here to help connect everyone together to ensure that all the information is there to make a sound decision, and then to be in support of the selected artist or team to get to project completion. So to get into the application instructions and requirements, we have the requirements all spelled out here in the bottom section of the call, and then we have a fillable form at the very end that we'll get to. But all this information is included as required elements in the Cognito form. And so there's a couple different ways to fill out the application and submit it to us. And we'll cover that here. So we're looking for your full contact information, name, address, email, phone, a letter of interest. So we're looking for this to not to exceed 1 page. So just a nice sort of cover letter, but we really want to learn about you and your practice and why you were interested in this project and why you think you're a good fit. And I always think the letter of interest, I think, is always really important because it's you as the artist or the artist team, it's your opportunity to bring your voice into that committee environment. And so use this, use this wisely and share with us the critical information that you think is important to help us understand the context of your portfolio, the context of your experience. Maybe you can elaborate upon a project that you think is relevant to applying to this project, or if there's specific experience, maybe you're a finalist in another similar type of project. Share that information with us. It really helps. Really helps to have your voice in the room there. Statement, bio, resume. So 2 pages here available. You can approach this again how you want. If there's a statement about your practice, there's a statement about your team. If you want to share specific information about yourself or about each of your team members, if you want to submit more of a resume with a listing of all of your past completed projects or relevant work experience, this is up to you in terms of how you present it. So again, additional information to complement the letter of interest. Portfolio of past work samples. So we have up to 10 examples of past completed projects. As well, we're also interested in seeing if you've been a finalist for other similar projects. Design renderings are perfectly acceptable. The image list will be critical in helping us sort of determine whether it's been a completed project or a rendering, or if it's some other example that you'd like to share with us. We'd like those images to be in the Cognito form. It will give you a couple different options on how to submit those. And then if you want to mail or hand deliver your application, that can be a PDF or JPEG files. But make sure they're really good, solid images, really focused on the work. So images of the completed project, maybe in context of the environment. You can use maybe some of those 10 examples of details of a project, if that feels relevant. If you don't have 10 good project examples, the details could be a nice opportunity, or you could limit the number of images that you're submitting. Oftentimes we see artists applying with trying to sort of fit 10 images into their portfolio, into their application, or their portfolio, and maybe not including very strong examples all the way through. And I find it better that it's better if you have less project examples, but really strong ones. That sort of demonstrates the strength of your practice and your skills and ability to the committee. If they see sort of lesser quality projects submitted in relationship to maybe high quality projects or good examples, then it can oftentimes cause confusion with the committee and sort of give them pause and hesitation in wanting to have the confidence to work with you. So be really thoughtful about the projects, the examples that you're putting forward. The image list, we'd like these to correspond to each of those examples. And please include the title, year completed, materials, dimensions. And then again, this is another opportunity for you to bring your voice into the room. 200 words and additional comments about that particular project. So, share information about the stakeholders that were involved, or how the project responded to community feedback, or describe how the project is engaging and interactive, or how it met the particular themes or parameters of the call, or share more about the materials or the location, or feedback that was received. Again, another sort of critical opportunity to bring your voice into the room with the committee. So this will take us directly to the Cognito form. I'll come back and go into that here in just a minute. But if you want to mail or hand deliver your application, that's perfectly acceptable. There's information here on for mailing it, or if you want to stop by the Walters Cultural Arts Center, we always have a front desk attendant at the main entrance, and you can drop it with them. If you choose to go the mail or hand deliver route, you can fill out the fillable PDF here with your contact information, and then save that form along with your 1-page letter of interest, 2 pages of statement, bio, resume, and your image and image list onto a thumb drive. And you can pop that in the mail or drop it at the front desk there at the Walters. An easier way to do it, potentially, is to use the Cognito form. And so when you go to this form, this is also accessible from that artist opportunities page. You'll find again that critical information at the top, but we've trimmed out all that information that's in the call to artists to make it a little bit more approachable and just easier to navigate to submit your application. So the same criteria is listed again here in the instructions and requirements. And the nice thing about the Cognito form is that we've made all of the required information required. So you can't submit this form without that critical information being included. So you can simply run through the form, add in all of your information, drag or upload all of your files right into the form here, and then you can submit it here at the bottom. You'll get an automatic, the nice thing about this one too is you'll get an automatic message that the application's been received, and you can have the assurance that you've completed the task of getting your application in. So that about covers the critical information about the project. I'm going to stop sharing, and I think LeAnn, my colleague in the public art program, might have a couple questions to help kind of clarify things. So LeAnn, was there anything that you think I missed in the description?
So the only thing that I noticed that I apologize for not specifying on the call is in the Cognito, we do say when you're loading up your statement and your letter of interest, we request that you either do a PDF or a Word document. That's not listed in the call document, but please make sure that you do just a Word or PDF document. We do not accept documents that are made with the Mac Word document or Word processor. Our computers can't read them. So if you do want us to be able to read your application, it needs to be in the Word or PDF form.
Right.
Aside from that, questions. Karl, what do you think would a successful application look like from an artist or an artist team?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, getting all the required information in, but I think really a successful application will be one that that builds confidence in the committee that you have the skills and the background and the perspective that we're looking for to complete this project. So really encourage, those of you who are working in sort of interactive projects or, projects that are a good fit for a park environment, that are accessible and approachable for, all different types of community members, I think is what we're looking for. So, well articulated letter of interest, describing why this is a good project for you in your practice, strong work examples, and the sort of experience to support that.
Okay. So you talked about the artwork being, or the community having a desire for it to be interactive. What do you mean by interactive? Is that technologically interactive, or is that something else?
Well, I think we probably, based on the extremely heavy use of this park site, we probably want to steer away from sort of technologically interactive projects, just due to LeAnn and I here are the public art program. So we run programming and projects and the maintenance and care of the collection. And so we want something we're looking for a project that's going to be able to withstand the type of love that the park sees. It's super active throughout the entire year, lots and lots of park users every day. And so, in terms of interaction, I think that it could be something that's functional. It could serve as just a gathering space. It could be seating based, or play based. Something that could be maybe open-ended or intuitive based play, but something that will sort of have a draw for all generations and all abilities.
Great. What type of materials are you looking at for this type of piece?
I mentioned the heavy use of the park, and so we know that public art projects often get used up in a lot of ways. So we definitely want something that's in durable materials. So there's a lot of options there, but we don't want to have to replace components frequently throughout the year, or have sort of broken components that are going to detract from the community's ability to engage with the work.
How do you feel about sustainable art for this project? So things like land art or recycled materials.
Absolutely. Yeah, we heard, complementing the natural environment. So I mentioned that there is the existing plantings and soil. And so, there's a lot of possibility, I think, in working with the existing form of the planter bed. And certainly, recycled materials are welcome. I know there's some good resources around the metro area for sort of reclaiming materials. So yeah, I think we're definitely open to that.
Great. And what about color? Are you looking for lots of color or like minimal color, or is there anything that the community has voiced about that?
Yeah, kind of, we heard really not wanting to disrupt the natural environment so much with the project. And then we heard that, it'd be nice to have more naturalistic color palette in the project to sort of help blend in with the space. So yeah. And a lot of that, detailed sort of information is within all of the data we collected, and something we'll discuss more with all of the finalists.
Okay, so here's my last question. What type of art does the Hillsborough community or the community around Shute Park tend to seem to be drawn towards?
Maybe I'll turn that one around on you, LeAnn. What do you think? What's your response to that one?
Oh, well, I can say that, well, I guess if you're looking at our public art collection as a whole, we have about 18 outdoor public art pieces. The majority of those are made out of stainless steel or some sort of reclaimed metal. We do have mosaics and stone and concrete as well. So definitely, I think we've had some conservation specialists that have come in and have actually commented about how they're surprised by how much metal we have in our collection. So that seems to be something that maybe just as a material that the community seems to gravitate towards as a perception of durability. But as far as like style or content, we have things that are very contemporary and modern and abstract. And then we also have things that are whimsical and more representational. So I think that from that standpoint, our community is very open-minded about like the context and the subject matter, but they are very cognizant about durability as far as materials go.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a pretty good description. I think the community is open to more contemporary forms. and to, you know, different styles of whether it be more representative or more abstract. And I think we heard that through the engagement process, that there's kind of a broad appetite for different types of works. I think that's already represented in the collection.
Yep.
So, well, thanks for viewing this. Hopefully this was helpful for you as you work through the application. And as we said, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns or kind of want to chat about what to include in the application. We're here to help you and hope to see your application coming in soon. Thanks, LeAnn.
Thank you.